I always have it. I find it humorous when I start a video when I'm thinking I'm gonna have all these things to say, and the second I hit play or record, all of a sudden, poof, like they said in Shawshank, which I won't repeat here. Oh, let's see what that is. There it is. I look around my room, and anyway, I have 2 boxes. That's one. And this is 2. These are only 2 classic space boxes I have really right now, which is okay for me. And I don't know why I kept these 2 because they're not particularly significant to me at all. I remember buying this one off the shelf. This is not the box that it came in when I bought mine off the shelf. That box got sent to the recycling bin pre-internet. This one also did not come to me. I did not buy the set at all when I was a kid. I think the instructions are in here. Something feels heavier. Yeah, even comes with instructions. Really beat up instructions, but instructions nonetheless. I got, this isn't one of the ones I got in that big box that I gave to my friend Jeffy, 2 big boxes, or maybe 3 boxes, 2 boxes of boxes. I got this in a lot 3 or 4 years ago, and I said, oh, it's a cute box, I'm gonna keep it. And you can see the price on it, $4.50. $4.50 Kmart. Of course, I'd have to cut grass to get $4.50. And this guy I also got in a used lot, Science City $9.99. But I did buy this one new in the store. I remember buying it. Back then I had no idea, no concept of the fact how limited the trans yellow antennas were, or else I would have bought 10 of these. But I bought this one. I bought it specifically for the robot. This is one of the sets that I change because again the wings are backwards. Yes, they're backwards. I classify the wings as backwards, so I flipped the rings on. Also, I do try. I think this is one of the few later sets where I tried to do the back pictures and build the sets on the back, the ships in the back. I remember trying to build, yeah, every one of these I tried to build. Not too many sets after that one where I tried to do the back of the box. I just gave up. So, not a friend of this channel. She doesn't even know who I am, and that's perfectly acceptable by me. Stacy on the internet, she's got thousands of followers, and deservedly so, because she's a huge Lego fan, and I just adore her for it. And she just seems to have a great time with it, and she makes some great content. She's an influencer. Stacy Lego, Bricks and Giggles, I think it's her name, channel, Bricks and Giggles. I think she's adorable. I think she's absolutely adorable, and I do follow her. I don't know if she follows me, nor do I care. Nobody has to follow me at all. But she kept on talking lately about the Galaxy Explorer. Now, she wasn't even alive when the Galaxy Explorer came out, and I think it's fantastic that she even knows what it is. Like, the new fans don't care about old sets. This is why I really like Stacy, because she cares about all sets, new and old. I'm more of I preferred old sets over new sets. That's just it. Hey, you kids, get off my grass. That's who I am. Hey, you dastardly kids, I would have got away from it too if it wasn't for your meddling kids and that pesky dog. Old school. So I do follow her, and I do love her content, and she has fun with it on the TikToks and the YouTubes and her little channel, far bigger than my channel. So Bricks and Giggles, go look it up. She's fantastic. But she talked about the Galaxy Explorer and how she always wanted one, and she got one a while back, and then she spent some time. This is why, again, I really appreciate who she is. She spent some time ordering better pieces to make her Galaxy Explorer magnifico. Magnificent, because it deserves that. Not that I'm gonna do that. I am far too lazy. And so she did, and she did a video this week or last week about her Galaxy Explorer, and she was showing it off and how wonderful it looked with all mint pieces on it. and it gets, again, once again, it gets into that covetedness of appreciation of the classics. And arguably, the Galaxy Explorer, quintessentially, again, in many, not everybody's, but in many people's opinions, who have an understanding of the entire scope and breadth of Lego themes over the ages, the Galaxy Explorer is ranking right up there. Now, when you're looking at it and you say, it don't look like much. When you're 10 years old, this looked like everything. if you're my age, this looked literally like everything. It looked like adventure, wonderment, beauty, just fantasticness. Now, again, as they built the next, and I went into the Space Police 2 and Blacktron and Ice Planet, blah blah, that they kept on reinventing and making better, incrementally different themes. UFO, fantastic, but this is where it began. This is the lead kickoff of that whole 22-year 1978 to 2000 era of space sets, the space theme and all the sub themes that came in after this. This was the impetus. Now, for me, it's the 918, because I got, and the only reason why is 100% nostalgia, I got it first. I did not get the Galaxy Explorer, I got the 918. And that's straight up, that's the only reason why I prefer myself the 918 over the 928, is because I got it first, the 918. But the 928 with the, well, not this specific one, because this one's been heavily modified by me, as you can tell. The 928 in and of itself is just a life of wonderment, adventure, and imagination. And I'm leading into this somewhere. That's not that profound. This one was my Galaxy Explorer that I had on my repair bay. So you can see this side was all under repair. And there was a robot in the gantry, which I talked about before, that would go back and forth, act like it's fixing this thing. So I removed the blue and I put in the gray and blah, blah, blah. And I keep on thinking I should really swap it back to blue because I don't have a spot for the gantry in the layout. So what's the point of having this thing with the gray and blue? I just haven't bothered yet. So you'll still see the gray. And I have 2 more gray tiles if I actually change it back to blue. I just realized that right now. But I talk about all this to get to the point, and there's mine right there. Because I went out into the garage, into my totes, and first of all, this is how I store a 928 in the baggie. So all the parts in there. I take off, I'll pull it out and you can see. There we go. So I take off the tail and I disassemble the tail, because these things can get onto here and they can get twisted and broken if they get caught on something. So I don't want this piece to get broken. So that's that. The engines come off. At the bottom, the landing gears come off. Also, what I've started doing when I just did this is I put all the other miscellaneous pieces inside. So they're not all in the bag. So that's what I did. So there's nothing on the bottom. The engine, the 1x2 with handles is off the front, because that would come busted if it hits a corner like that. They would get busted. The thrusters come off. You know, anything. Oh, these are 1x2s. Let's see if I have any 2x2s. This is not a complete Galaxy Explorer. I don't know if I have 2x2s. I probably used them all up, and now I'm going to have to order those on Bricklink. Yeah, my friend Paul. Thanks, Paul. Nope, I don't have any 1x4s at all. So that's yet one more thing I'm going to have to order. So this is what it's, with my previous video, I said I have 4 924 bricks, and I just don't have some of the other pieces to build the 924, such as the gray tails. So so I just noticed that now that these things have, I use laziness, I use 1x2 with vertical stripes on it on both sides of this guy. So I'm going to put in yet another bricklink order. But I pulled this out because look, it's missing a right hand door. It's got the left hand, it's missing the right hand. So I'm going to take this thing apart and I'm going to put in a right hand door, because again I have now a full set, 15 full sets. I love my Galaxy Explorers, and then that comes off like that. And then I come over here and I grab a right hand door. Whoosh. A complete Galaxy Explorer. Except for the 1x4s. So again, so many things. So many things. I will say, like Stacy, I did like to rebuild my Galaxy Explorers so that they would be as mint as possible with the pieces I had. And so you will see on here, the blue is very nice on this one. It's very nice. The gray is very, very nice. I do have some yellowed pieces in some other Galaxy Explorers that I just reconstituted right from the lot that I got them from. That is what it is. The only thing about this one is the logos on the side are pretty faded. The gold's gone. But again, I don't have any of those pieces on here. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Sorry. Well, let's fix that right now. I forgot about all these guys. So you can see some of my pieces in here, pretty bad for the arrows, but especially for the logos. Like, look at this one. And I had that one pre-internet, by the way. I got that in a used lot at a garage sale decades ago. so that didn't even come I didn't get this off the internet lot. And then you see the back, they're pretty beat up sometimes. But this is the wide gambit of logos that you get over years of collecting, right? So I kept them all apart, but you can see there's a good one there, and there might be a good one. Well, there's the top one and that one. So what I'm going to do now, because I'm here and I want to, is I'm going to I should have a brick separator somewhere. I'm going to take off these two, which are bleh, and I'm going to replace them with this one and this one. And so I put a little bit of effort into it to make a better Galaxy Explorer. Now if I go to brickstickershop.com and I ordered the 1x2 stickers clear with a gold logo on it, that's nice too. I think I used all mine up already. And so now I don't have any good ones left on here. They are, well, that one's not bad. That one's okay. That one's pretty faded. That one's stupid faded. I actually, these ones here, you can still see gold, but not as good as ones I just put in. It's and this one, like, what is that? It's like red. I'm colorblind. That one. I do love this stuff. I was actually looking at my robot command centers to see if I had to replace this slope, because I could have sworn I had a robot command center that was missing one of these printed slopes on it. But I had the 6 constituted and I didn't see it. So maybe it's the 7th one that's sitting there. So many things, so many times. The other thing is, well, we're talking about this stuff. So now I have 14 right-hand doors and 15 left-hand doors. Spare. Is that I have, for those of you who remember, I reconstituted 13, I think. I should look it up on here. Let's see if Excel, if I actually had it listed. Excel 2016. That's how old this one is. Space sets. And view. Normal. I don't like page break preview. I'm looking for the 6 6890. 6890. Let's sort by set number. Love Excel. 6890. Going down, going down. 6890. Cosmic Cruiser 13. I reconstituted 13 6890s. The one piece I did not have for the 6890 reconstitution of 13, I think I had half of them, was the 1x2 brick in light gray with black vertical stripes. And if you look on here, I just had it. I'm looking. You just saw it. Wow. I am just, oh yeah, sorry. I have some blue. I have 4 blue. Well, 8 blue. That's because I replaced those 1x4s. 8 blue, but no more gray. The other thing is, I have still, after reconstituting 13, I have 4 more of these guys. So 14, 15, 17. But then I have the 2x3 slope with Classic Space logo on it, white, but they're all bad. And I don't have any more 1x2 gray with vertical stripes on it. So I didn't bother reconstituting 17. And the other thing is, I still have all these guys, the large ones, although they're all pretty bad. None of them show the actual craters. Some of them have faded away next to nothing. So, and I have 1 mint. This is 1 mint. Oh, one more thing I'm going to replace on this guy. Actually, that one's not bad. You can still see the bottom part of the craters on there. So I'm not going to replace him. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find a worse one for this guy. But you saw how many I had of 928s, and I had basically the same number as 918s. And I had 7 924s. So, like, really, do I need to constitute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? I'm going to do 2 more. All right, then I can use that for the 924. Perfect. Because I'm going to reconstitute the 924s. Because I can do that. Because I can do that. So that is what it is. So I will keep these pieces. And again, you see how deplorable some of them are. And that really is what it is. I'm not going to, shake my fist. This is what happens after all these years. My pieces were not that good from my childhood to now, because that's what happens. And I can't fault other people for treating their pieces as hard as I treated my pieces. Now I try to treat these pieces as nice. Oh, see this one's got a really good logo in the front. Look at that. I took this one out. I did not put it in storage, and it's not back in the drawer for the next show because I forgot there is a Life Flights Junior kit in here. It doesn't turn on anymore because the batteries have to be dead. But it doesn't have a wire sticking out the back, so I did not modify this juniorized junior E-Light brick to, because you can solder wires to it so you can plug into the power. But I'm going to do that. And since this is all lit up, and I'll show you, you can see the light right there. It's awesome when these things light up. I love it when I light up spaceships. So this is going to be lit up at some point. That's why I left it out. Stuff that I find in my collection that I did years ago, again, always literally surprises me. Because I forget a lot more than I remember these days, because I've done so much over the years of all the hacks and modifications and blah, blah, blah. This guy here is all lit up too, which is why I didn't put it back. You can see that the LED there. So, I mean, this is my fix them up set, but you can see in the back, there's the actual, oh, this thing will actually light up. Let's see if it still does it. Lights up. There we go. I do get surprised sometimes of what I did in the past, because I do forget this stuff. I shouldn't forget this stuff, but I do forget this stuff, and that's a fault of mine. It's also what makes me a good friend because I'll forget how much you pissed me off. Oh, he did that. I don't remember. Don't you remember when that person said X, Y, and Z? No. uh, my life is way too short to hold grudges. I really don't care about holding grudges. I do. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Now that that's reconstituted, now I'm gonna order 1x4 bricks. I don't remember specifics of things that pissed me off. I remember specifics about the neighbors. I keep on talking about them. But in my life, I know that some people have done bad stuff to me or about me or said about me or whatever. I don't remember specifics overall in my life because I just don't have the headspace to care. I do remember the emotional response I had, though, on most things that upset me. I remember that person X said or did something that pissed me off, and it left a bad taste in my mouth of that person. And so there have been very exceedingly relatively few people in my life. And this is going back to my childhood, by the way. I'm not Sheldon Cooper, or the guy Steve Buscemi in Waterboy. No, it wasn't Waterboy. It was Happy. No, it wasn't Happy Gilmore. Billy Madison. Think about that. I'm not Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison, where I have a list of people on my list. I don't have a list. Sheldon has a list. I will say this. So it hasn't happened recently, but I had a friend request from somebody from my distant past who was more than an acquaintance, less than a friend. A neighbor. I don't think I was out of single digits. I don't think I was out of single digits. I don't remember the specifics as to what he did at the time. And again, I am very good at forgiving stuff that should be forgiven. Like I won't hold a grudge against anybody overall. But what that person did was would be wrong today. So it wasn't childhood stuff. It was wrong. It was wrong. I don't have to go into details. It was just wrong. It was wrong then, be wrong now. It was wrong at 8. It's wrong at 48, 56, 58. So he asked to be my friend on Facebook. I declined. That's it. I didn't. No, I just deleted it. No, I'm not. Nope. You go live your life over there. It would be almost the same as if the ex-husband who lived next door sought me out to become my friend on Facebook. Hey, Dave, we should become friends. Sorry about what happened before. No, not remotely interested. And so that list is so small. That guy and our 2 neighbors that I can think off the top of my head. The 3 people that I will never need or want or have the want or the desire to ever interface with again, ever, about literally anything. Now, if they're laying on the side of the road bleeding, I'm going to stop and help. And I said this, not to keep on bringing up the book, I said this in the book, that when they lost their kid at 3 years old, the kid went wandering off, and I basically dropped everything I was doing to go look for this kid. And I found this kid, and he was far away, and, it could have been severely worse than it was. And this was this was at the beginning of the issues with the neighbors, the beginning of the 8 years, not the end of the 8 years. It was like a couple of years into it, but it wasn't the escalation at the end. But I found their kid. I found him. Because that's who I am. I'm going to, you could be, not to say this, good one's lot. You could be Hitler. And if you come running to my door, bang, 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 my kid's missing, I'm going to help you find your kid. That's who I am. That's fundamentally who I'm not going to say, you bad person, you did such and such to me, you offended me, you were mean to me, you're a bully, you're whatever. You threatened my wife with death, whatever, because that's what they did. But the 3-year-old didn't. The 3-year-old is not part of that world. The 3-year-old deserves to be found. And deserves to be found quicker rather than later, because the longer it goes, the worse the potential outcomes are. So that's how I've always looked at it, and that's how the police look at it now. I found out that, but I learned this when I was a kid. So I was busy in the garage working. I was busy in the garage working on stuff around the house, and the neighbor's mom comes running out. X person's missing, and I don't know where they are. I searched the house, and we already had the issues with them. We already had the issues with them. We were not talking to them. We were not liaising with them. We were not whatever. But that happened, and of course, I'm going to look for the kid, because that's my moral integrity. Again, moral virtue. Again, if somebody didn't want to look for them, like if Sandy didn't want to look for the kid, I would not hold it against her at all. I would never, not once would I have held anything against her when it came to whatever with the neighbors. If she had a glass of water and these people were dying of thirst and she didn't give them a sip, I would not. Good on you, honey. For sure. If the police would come to our door and ask us about the neighbors, the police would come to our door, because this is what happened. This is what we were living with. They would come to our door a lot. Not just because of us, because this is who they were. And they, have you seen the neighbors? Have you? And Sandy's answer every time, I'm not talking to you about them. I'm not talking to you, the police, about our neighbors, because every single time we did anything about the neighbors, it escalated their aggravation towards us. So Sandy would not talk to the police at all about the neighbors. And I'm not faulting her for that. I applaud her for that. And I support her for that. She's the one that got the brunt of it through the entire 8 years. Nobody outside of my beautiful wife got even close to what anybody else. Like, it was so beyond the pale of the vehemence and the maliciousness and the threats of death and rape and whatever else, all the stuff that was directed at my wife from the neighbors over 8 years. It was disgusting what we have on tape. It's disgusting what we have on our incident report. It's disgusting what's on the police reports. It's literally disgusting. It would offend the most blue of sailors. It would offend the most worldly of persons. It would offend everybody except for them. The only people who are not offended by that were our neighbors. It was just like, I cannot conceive, not to go off on this tangent, I cannot conceive at all in my mind, and I've been around, I'm not naive, I'm not a worldly man, but I'm not naive. I can't conceive of at all how they got to where they were. It literally astounded me at the end when it kept on going off the rails, and I said, it can't possibly get worse, and yet it always did. I do not know how. I sort of know how, but it's a huge question for me that I have in my mind now, and even back then I put it in the book, that how our society systems that are in place utterly failed them. Not just judicially, not just criminally, not just by the police, but the Children's Aid Society. That, like, how I don't like dwelling on it too much, but I've been thinking about it a little. I reread the book last week. I skimmed through it because I wrote it, so I skimmed through it the other day because I was thinking about something we are something else is whatever. So I read through the entire book, and I'm looking at the overwhelming evidence against them to be able to have young children under their care. I'm looking at what we witnessed directly for them to have young kids under their care legally. Like, the kids should have been taken away from them easily with 1/10 of the stuff that we saw. And not just the maliciousness and the bitterness and the vulgarness and the profanity and the threats of violence and the screaming coming through the walls at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the bashing and the smashing and the exposures. It's like, my God, the drunken stupidness of old people at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning with their young kids on the back patio. It's like, but so forget all that environment, the mean, bitter, malicious, non-healthy environment for a kid to grow up in, emotionally and intellectually healthy. Let's talk about the physical. Let's talk about the physical environment. 2 days after they left, 2 days after we kicked them out, we told them to move. The judge told them to get out. They owned their house. Get out. 2 days after they left, cockroaches were coming into our house from their house, coming through the walls. I've never seen a cockroach in my personal life. Seen them on TV. Never seen one in real life. And then there are in our kitchen. It's like, what? So we called the exterminator. The new owners couldn't move in because they opened the front door, and in the foyer, there's dozens of cockroaches just running around on the floor in the foyer. So they called the exterminator. And so the exterminator had to come and do our house and do their house. And he says he's going to do our house first, because if he goes over there and sprays their house, the cockroaches go scatter into the houses next to him, which would be ours. So he sprayed our house first, which is fine. He goes over there, and he says there were hundreds of cockroaches on every floor, on every surface, every cabinet, hundreds. He said, he's been doing this for years. He said this is the first time that he had to spray his clothes leaving the unit. He had to spray them off his clothes. They were crawling on him. That's how many cockroaches were in that house. And yet, they were allowed to live that way. And the CAS visited that house. We know CAS visited that house. Forget that part. About a year or two before they left, before they were evicted, it's not evicted, for sale from the provincial government, get out. We noticed at nighttime, because we're living next door, that the husband would take their 3 kids to grandma's house, who lives across the street and down in a different survey, every other night, or every once in a while, and they would have towels on their shoulder. They would go over to grandma's place, and then sometimes we see them come back at midnight or whatever. We found out that they didn't pay their utility bills, so the gas company cut off the gas. They had no hot water in the house for over 2 years. No hot water. You can't. How do you do dishes? Forget everything else. Like, you put the stove in a kettle, maybe. But these kids couldn't have a bath or a shower in the house because there was no hot water. None. How? How? 3 o'clock in the morning, they're stamping around like a bunch of wild hyenas, like whipping it up, and the swearing and the filthiness, and it's like it's been 6 years, so it's been nice for 6 years. I'll tell you that. But it every once in a while, it'll just drift across my head when I come across something else that just makes me remind me of them. That this wasn't a movie. This wasn't a The Walking Dead. This was reality. And I said in the book that my single biggest disappointment, my single biggest thing that doesn't sit well with me, because I know there's people like this in the world. I know there are. I met 2 of them. And I know how they got there. But my single biggest disappointment in this entire ordeal was the failure of our systems that are in place. I've seen people that have had CAS threaten to take their kids away because of whatever reasons on paper, when I know that these people are good and decent people and humans, and whether it's one slip up or whatever, my CAS is right there, ready to take the kids away, and the parents have to prove themselves for the kids not to be taken away from their parents. I know people like that. You probably know people like that. we can also say in our lives, going through our lives, that some people shouldn't be parents. Straight up, I've seen that. I've seen that many times. But again, who am I? I'm not behind the closed doors. I don't know what those families are like, the dynamics or whatever. But I'm talking about, in any normal family, there's going to be some issues. And I was bringing up Joshua, like, oh, holy moly, like, you, as a parent, you're frustrated, you're upset, you're not getting sleep, whatever. I remember going through stuff. But in the end, you do your best. And in the end, I'm glad the systems are in place to aid when they need to be aided. But for me, I have seen the systems, the institutional systems in our society threaten to take kids away from what I consider to be good parents. Well, once in a blue moon, but again, I don't know what's behind closed doors. I don't know the whole story, but the parents prove themselves and the kids get to stay. But I'm looking at this for 8 years, when the kids are 0 to 8, and the older ones are from 8 to 5 to whatever, not out of high school. The environment they were living in, intellectually, physically, emotionally, spiritually, if you want to use that word, negligent, not malfeasant across the board. Like, there was no effort to make these kids better for themselves. Forget better for society. There was no effort put into making these kids better for themselves intellectually. There was no teaching there. There was no role models there. There was nothing there that would say, I heard some that they were suspended from school and they rejoiced in it. The mom rejoiced when the kids were suspended from school. I don't give a beep about the school. My kid can do whatever he wants. Like, this is the next generation of Karens. This is the next generation of living off. We're going to be paying for this, by the way. Not just us, because we had to pay money to get the money here. But society is going to be paying for these kids. How are they going to be living in a society when they don't have any societal intelligence to live in society properly? Because mom didn't want that. She was anti everything. She was the Karen of Karens, including to her kids. Anyway, I'm not gonna keep on dwelling on it. I do shake my head. I honestly do shake my head every once in a while. And again, I don't think about it a lot anymore. Overall, but I do occasionally when something else happens and something twigs a memory. And I say, wow, it is, the toxicity has left. And I'd mentioned this about in my emotional state. I don't forget the emotions. I will never forget the emotions. Those 3 people in my life, 2 of them right next door and one of them from my early childhood, I never want to see again. and it's these guys, because I wrote a book about it, so I can tell you specifics. So why I never want to see them again. The kid from my youth, I know they did something bad, not just once, a bunch of times. And it was the 70s. You didn't talk about that stuff back in the 70s in public discourse. And so it was like, just shut up. It's done. And we don't have to talk about it. We move on. And that sort of bothered me over the years. But again, I let that go because the 70s is the 70s. And so I'm not here to rock the boat for anybody in their lives, but I don't need you in mine. You don't have to be near my boat. You can't be over there in your boat. I don't need you in my life. Other people who want to be their friends, knock yourself out. Again, I'm not here to tell anybody else what to do with their lives. I don't want to walk down this path, but I'll talk about it for a sec. I did go to church for a long time, and there's this notion of forgiveness and getting past the past. Putting it to bed and not think about it. I have no problem forgiving. I do have a slight problem with forgetting, but I also do not have a problem saying I do not hold any animosity towards. I talked about this before. I'm apathetic towards them. the neighbors and this kid from the past. I'm apathetic towards them directly. I have no care if they do well. I have no care if they do not do well. Their whatever's going on in their lives has nothing to do with mine, and that's the way I want to keep it. That's the way exactly what I want to keep it. And so that's the way I run my life, and that's the way I've always been. Even my ex-girlfriends, never wished them animosity. I never, oh, you wench, you blah blah blah. No, happy for you somewhere else. I'm very happy. Hope you're happy in that specific instance. Forget the neighbors, friends that or acquaintances or girlfriends that we broke up, and they go have a wonderful life over there. Fantastic, by the way. Extremely happy for you, like over the moon for you that you're happy where you are, and I'm not there, which makes me happy. So we're both happy. I'm happy that you're happy, and I'm happy that I'm happy. That's the win-win here. That's absolutely the win-win here. I thought, I'm so bitter that they are doing what they want to do with their lives. Are you kidding? That's the best possible outcome. And I don't care how bad it got. And not that I ever had any ex-girlfriends that were like, whoo, because I didn't. But I'm happy for them. Why wouldn't I be happy for them? I dated them. So they were close to me. They're emotionally close to me. And now they're over there being emotionally close to somebody else. Perfect. And they could win $1 billion tomorrow. Joy, over the moon for you. This is wonderful news. Whatever news that makes them happy, they're happy. And none of it has to do with me, which is where I'm coming from. Like the neighbors, if they get hit by a truck tomorrow, or if they win $1 million tomorrow, whatever. Nothing to do with me. And that's what I wanted from the beginning. I don't want their anything that they do, think, say, whatever, impacting me at all. And that's what we have now. I mean, I do occasionally talk about it. As I said, again, not to bring up the book, as I said in the book, but I also said in real life, I said sooner or later, and this is about 3/4 of the way through it, this is like year 6, I said to Sandy and my friends, because they were seeing what we were going through, I said, sooner or later, they are going to be a punchline to our lives. We're going to bring them up around the campfire. Oh, do you remember when our neighbors did this? Ha ha ha! What idiots they were. That's what they're going to be. That's what they're going to be relegated to, is a punchline to a story. Oh, at least you didn't live beside my neighbors, right? Oh, this is so bad. At least you didn't live beside the neighbors. Whatever. They're going to be the comparison. They are now the benchmark for comparison of the most heinously just bad people you could ever come across, and so they're the punchline now, which is perfect for me because I get to say it. You think you have it bad? You weren't here 7 years ago, and so when you can joke about it like that, life is great, and that's where I am, and I like that. I like that about this because. When you're through, I've talked about this a few episodes back, about you're in a boat in a storm and you can't see the shore, which is where we were 6-7 years ago, right before court. You can't see the shore, and you're lost, and you're in the huge storm of whatever the mess was outside. I always knew from the get-go. I said to Sandy, even before the lawyers got involved, I said, sooner or later, as soon as it went off the rails the first time, I said, sooner or later, Sandy, you and me are going to be in court for our neighbors. I prognosticated it. I said, absolutely. These people just, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist. But it was easy for me to prognosticate that sooner or later, this is going to be completely off the rails. Because no matter what we did, no matter what we said, no matter what we didn't say, no matter what we didn't do, it didn't matter at all. We were just the convenient foils for them to attack. That's all we were. It could have been anybody living in this house. It wasn't directed at her or me, Sandy or me. It wasn't directed at us. It was directed at 2 meat sacks and the unit next door. Just because that's all we were. We were just ready. We were just foils for them to stick their sword into. So I learned from the very beginning not to take anything they said personally, because they don't know who we are. They didn't matter to them who we were. They're going to attack us anyway. They would have attacked Gandhi, straight up. They would have attacked Gandhi if Gandhi lived here. They would have. It doesn't matter who lived here. As I wrapped up the book, I mentioned again, maybe prognosticating, just by the series of attacks that I saw through the 8 years that they lived beside us, with attacking, because they lived a couple of years without the attacking, but then they lived with us with the attacking. They would attack anybody who crossed their path. They attacked the cops. They attacked the judge. They attacked the godmother. Attacked his parents. The brother, mom, anybody. They attacked them. The second anybody crossed their path in even a slightly incorrect way for them, they attacked them. And then there was nobody left. They were kicked out of here, so they couldn't attack it. They kept on throwing attacks our way on Facebooks and stuff, but we weren't looking at it anymore because they weren't here anymore. So it didn't matter anymore. And so as soon as they were not getting their satisfaction from attacking us or attacking the neighbors, attacking the board, attacking the lawyers, attacking the police, attacking the judge, because it's all done, we've all moved on, they attacked each other. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Who didn't see that coming? Oh, wait. Here's me, Joey. I'm some guy. That clip's been going around. Saw it coming a mile away. And I said it. I said it before it happened. I said, this is what's going to happen. And they attacked each other. They got divorced. She walked out. It was just textbook. And again, what textbook? I don't know. But it was just textbook. It was just textbook narcissism. It's textbook ignorance. It's textbook low information. It's textbook. They would be Donald Trump voters. Straight up. They would be absolutely Donald Trump voters. It was absolutely textbook. They were out of our field. They were taken off our battlefield. We were taken off their battlefield, but they were forcibly removed from the battlefield. They go somewhere else, and they couldn't attack us anymore. They couldn't attack the neighbors anymore. They couldn't attack the board anymore. They couldn't attack the lawyers anymore. And so they started attacking each other, and that was it. And then she just walked out on all of it. She walked out on her mom. She walked out on her kids. She walked out on literally everybody. All documented in the book. If you want to read the book. It was just, she literally attacked everybody. Anybody who didn't kowtow to her personality. Anybody who didn't just acquiesce to her vile, disgusting nature. Anybody who didn't tell her that she's the most beautiful princess in the world. She attacked. And it was just, and the people who stuck around, like her husband for all those years, she was attacking him through this entire mess. That's unfathomable to me. See bye. But he finally had enough. And he left. And it was like, saw it coming. I wrote that it was coming. I wrote in the incident report before it happened that it was going to happen this way. I predicted the entire thing. I really did. I predicted Sandy before the board got involved. In 2015, I predicted that we would be in court. I told her around the kitchen table, I said, we are going to be in court at some point to justify how we responded to their antics. We're going to be in court someday. So we have to make sure our nose is clean, that we make sure everything's done by the book. That's why we started the incident report in 2012. So we could lay it out. This is the incident report. Because they said, to the judge, well, not to the judge the last time, but they said to the arbitrator, they said to that we attack them all the time. Where? When? Dates, times, anything. When did we ever attack you? We had a list. We had a book of incident reports. We couldn't leave the front door of our house without being attacked. We have the recordings. which we are allowed to do because we were doing it, recording from our own property. We had video surveillance of them ripping apart our garden. When did we ever rip apart their garden? We have video of that. We have audio of them threatening Sandy's life. We're going to kill Sandy. They didn't use the word Sandy. They use a euphemism for the word Sandy. But we have it on recording. Like, it's recorded. Show any of that. And the judge just summarily read through the incidents, read through the arbitration notes, read through the police reports, read through it all. Summarily, what do you guys want? I'm willing to sign anything right now to get these people out of your lives. There was no case. They didn't even show up, but there was no case in front of the judge in July of 2018. There was no contest to this at all. The judge basically said to our lawyer, what do you need right now to get this done? Because he read through it all. And again, I remember vividly, this is what I do remember, sitting in court. I forget about the rest of the morning, but when it came to our turn, and our judge and our lawyer started standing up, and the judge had a stack of paper that he held up. He says he read through it all. And I know our incident report was in there, and I know our arbitration, our 17-page arbitration was in there. I know that our affidavits were in there, and all the other stuff in there, and their responses were in there. And he says, "You don't have to do anything, dude, lawyer, Mr. Lawyer. You don't have to do a thing to prove your case. I read everything in here. What do you want right now?" Like, what do you need right now to get these people out of here? There was, like, you watch a judge, you have the prosecution, you have the defense, and blah blah blah, and they hash it out. The judge stopped it all. There was no defense anyway. They didn't show up. The lawyers fired them, but that's a whole other story. And I'm like, really? After all this, 8 years, the judge, yeah, you name it, 90 days, perfect. They have 90 days to get out. It was the easiest thing I've ever, like, I watch a lot of lawyer shows. It was the easiest thing I've ever seen. It was like my biting my teeth up right up until that moment. But it was like, wow. He says to our lawyer, I read it all. You don't have to convince me of anything. It's all right there. It's the same as the arbitration. When we had the arbitration the year before, like, Sandy and I brought forth our huge incident report, and they're going through it. Oh, none of that happened. What do you mean none of it happened? We have the recordings. Oh, they attacked us. Where? Where's your incident report? Where we have to refute something? They brought nothing. There was just a general, they were bad, pointing at us. They picked on us. They made fun of us. And going, not once. I have one night on recording, the heart attack night. I didn't want to go into this right now. We have the heart attack night, the alleged heart attack night, because there was no heart attack. Surprise ending. There was no heart attack. But the letter to the lawyer, to our lawyer, because again, this is after the forced sale that they had against them. So July is when the forced sale was imposed on them. They had until the October to get out. It was August. We came back from a camping trip, and they were saying, after an ambulance came to take the neighbor away, the husband away in an ambulance, which was like, whatever. So they were out in their front porch laughing at us and pointing at us and insulting us. I have the entire night recorded. I had to take Friday out for a pee. And I have her attacking me. Oh, you're taking your wife out for a walk. Because I have Friday on a leash. And she's got something more stuff. And I said, I didn't say, look, lady, but basically it was, look, lady, your husband's being taken away in an ambulance today. You have bigger things to worry about than us. You have to take care of your family. Can you please, just once, and I said this as nice as possible, can you please just once go take care of your family? Because they need it. They need mom right now. Your husband's being taken away in an ambulance because of supposedly a heart attack. And you're here yelling at me. Like, where's your head? It was a lot more polite than that. A lot more terse than that, too. It was like 2 lines I said to her. Just, lady, please go take care of your family. I don't give a fuck about my family. You're going down, she says. I'm calling on you. Was calling what on me? Like, what can you possibly call down on my head? Like, forget the arrogance or whatever. What after all these 8 years can you possibly do to me legally? We're gonna get you guys. Okay, whatever, a lot of swearing and whatever. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. And I'm going, I have that recording. And so our lawyer sends them another letter. That's what it comes down to. It's like every time you open your mouth, you get another letter and another $500 gets assigned to you guys. It's like, it was just a disaster. And I'm trying to think how anybody, this is again how, because I literally overthink everything. I'm trying to think about how anybody can go through their lives. I know there's sociopaths out there. I know there's psychopaths out there. I don't know any personally. I know that there's people who have some addictions of gambling, alcohol, drugs, whatever. I've seen people close to me, blah blah blah. If you live your life long enough, if you're in your 30s and 40s and you don't know how life works yet, not the nuances, because I'm oblivious as they come, the nuances, the specificness of a lot of things, because I just don't care. But if you get to the point when you're almost 45 or 50, 40 years old, and you don't understand that if you're in a situation, it's like, what's the expression? If you're in a hole, stop digging. If you're in a hole, you've already been fined $60,000. You've already been forced to sell your house. You have to go find somewhere else to live in a couple weeks. And then you start attacking. and you don't think that after all this time, going back 5, 7, 8 years, the incident report that we had that got you there, and the fact that we have recorded you, and it was absolutely legal for us to record you, as we found out that you wouldn't. What do you think? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? And so their letter to the lawyer said, blah blah blah. They attacked us. Blah blah blah. They're wrong. Blah blah blah. We don't deserve all this stuff. And the lawyer had my recording, and it said, nowhere in there were people laughing at you. Nowhere in there did what you just said. So basically, you're lying to a lawyer, to a judge, to whatever. And it's like, and this goes right back to the mediation. When to assign a mediator, before the mediation even started, they had to get a mediator signed. We had to go to court for that. And the judge comes in straight off the bat. He says, what's outstanding, before we even start the meeting? Because the judge knew then there's stuff outstanding. And our lawyer says they owe about, $10,000 of legal fees and arrears because they haven't been paying their condo fees, $10,000. And the judge says, no, the condo's going to eat that $10,000. This family doesn't need to pay that $10,000. And he orders it, puts his gavel down. So ordered. And then I wasn't there. And then she opened her mouth in a courtroom. In a courtroom, she opens her mouth. It's like watching one of those bad detective shows when you got the court, the guy's on, but she wasn't even on the stand. She's sitting there in the audience. She opens her mouth, and the judge hears it. I don't know what she said, but I'm sure it was disparaging. The judge fines him back $7,500. 3/4 of the $10,000 they now have to pay for, because she opened her mouth. Within 90 seconds of him forgiving them the $10,000, forgiving them the $10,000 that they owe, she opens her mouth and gets 3/4 of it signed back to them. And I said this from the beginning, again, if she cannot conduct herself in a fashion of society, doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be an angel, but if she can't even conduct herself in a courtroom where they have this legal precedence where they could actually do something to you, how's anything that we did, I said, or anything at all, how can we be antagonistic towards them? How and have it stick? Like how can we do anything for them to make this better? If she can't keep her yap shut in a freaking courtroom where she was just forgiven $10,000, how can we do anything to make this better? We couldn't. From the beginning, we could not make this better. No matter what we said, no matter what we did, no matter what we didn't say, no matter what we didn't do, they attacked us, and then escalated it. Anyway, that's enough. I'm going to put the Galaxy Explorer back into the garage, into the tote. I'm going to order a brick link. So I'm going to put this one on top so I can find it. I'm going to do a brick link of 1x4 blue bricks with, excuse me, black stripes on it. And I'm going to do more mail calls. Sorry for this one, it took so long. I wasn't expecting an hour, but I did an hour. If you, not to send it this way, if you are ever in a mood, a particularly jaunty mood, it's called Unit 53, Unit 53, UNIT 53, Unit 53. It's on Amazon.com in the book section, and I priced them relatively cheap. Nobody's been buying them, which is perfect. I sold 10 copies, maybe. If you want, it's on EPUB, it's on Kindle, it's on paperback, and it's on the hardcover. All the names are changed, so nobody can say that you can't figure out who the neighbors are. That's the whole point. So all the names are changed, all the positions are changed, everything, physical attributes have changed, but everything else that describes what happened actually happened in that book. Everything that we went through is, well, not everything we went through, because I couldn't keep track of literally everything. But what's detailed in the book, besides physical locations and descriptions and names of people, are absolutely what happened to us and the neighbors and the lawyers and the police and the judge. And I wrote it as a therapy, straight up. I did write it as therapy. I really appreciated the therapy, and I did put it on, and I offer it to people as a tale of woe. It's not legal advice at any stretch. It's not marital advice. It's not psychological advice. The only thing it is a dictation of what happened to us. Whatever you guys get out of it is entirely up to you. Don't come back to me and say, oh, I tried what you did and it failed and therefore I'm going to sue you. Nothing in there is advice at all. It's just what we experienced and what we did to counter that experience, Sandy and me. And there's a lot there, and it's not meant for kids. Straight up, it's not meant for kids. But I say all the names have been changed to protect the innocent. So nobody can come back and say, oh, sue me. And again, it can't be slanderous if it's spoken and it's true. And it can't be libelous if it's written and it's true. And everything in that book, besides the names, the places, and the physical descriptions, everything else is true. And we have the court papers to prove it. So I'm not worried about a counter lawsuit. And I did change all the names. So if you just pick up the book and you don't know it came from me, you can't figure out who the neighbors are because they're all generic. And so I don't worry about it. But if you want to support the channel, no, I don't want to support the channel at all by that. But if you are in such a jaunty mood that you want to read a vile, disgusting section of our lives, it's there, Unit 53. The subtitle is 42 Ways to Get Evicted from Your House, even though they weren't evicted, but I couldn't think of a better title at the time. And I go into details. That's it. That's all. I'll talk to everybody soon. Bye.